Episode 90, Embracing Imperfection.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Two more weeks, folks, and then we're going to be at 100 episodes of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. That being said, it's Friday, and as every Friday, we're going to be doing an exercise. Well, I've already done the exercise, but I'm kind of giving you a homework assignment to reach that pinnacle of your personality, as is the mission statement of this podcast and has been ever since the first episodes came out, which were more of a persiflage against those gurus who want to take your money. This podcast is free and will always stay free. There are no hidden trapdoors, signups. Nobody's going to break your arm to convince you to take part in a training program or whatever. That's not our mission, and that's the way it's going to stay. However, there is, and I will start nagging more, if you feel that this episode is good for you, then please do subscribe, because chances are there are going to be more episodes which are going to help you, get out of the rat race, and help you with your health, with your wealth, and your happiness. And if you find that this episode or any other one you have listened to or will listen to is helpful to someone else, share it. If you have a friend around that, is too much of a perfectionist, then share this episode. If your parents are perfectionists, share this episode with them, because it's going to take some things out of proportion and try and reframe your mindset about potential imperfections you may have or other people may have. So, imperfection sucks, right? So the first things first, there's, I think everybody's heard of this quote that nobody is perfect. And I think there is no quote with more truth to it than that. It's always been a dream of, diverse people trying to breed the perfect human being, but what is the perfect human being, right? It's a very important question we have to ask ourselves. Is it like the physique the physique that's very or more important than brain power? Who knows, and who is there to write the standards about it? That's a very interesting question. You're going to have to ask yourself. However, what the mission of this episode is to give you a homework to figure out what your imperfections are, prioritize them, and, figuring out whether it's worth actually working on them or just embracing them. And that's really what it's about, as the title has already given away. Now, when you have no more, or you work and you live with your imperfections and you embrace them, it's very cool, because you don't have an Achilles heel anymore. No more vulnerabilities. And that gives you a totally different way of walking through life and enjoying life. And that's really what the reason is behind this episode. So, first things first, what are your imperfections? And what are some examples of imperfections, right? For me, when I was a kid, I stuttered really bad and went into special after school classes and got that trained away very well, as you can hear. Then I was born cross-eyed. That was attempted to take care of by multiple surgeries I underwent as a kid, which, still leaves me not being able to have depth perception, which means that all of these cool 3D movies were kind of pointless to me and that kind of thing. But it gave me a very interesting ace up my sleeve when I grew older and started business negotiations, because people didn't realize or didn't know whether I was looking at them or looking through them or around them or whatever, because one of my eyes would always point somewhere else, which made them insecure, which always gave me the upper hand and, made me very, very good at negotiating in business dealings. So, that's one way to turn it around. And, I had neurodermatitis, so I was really bugged as a kid, took care of most of it, most of the issues. And those that didn't go away, I took advantage of. And I think that's really what it's about. It's, going that extra mile and analyzing yourself and seeing what benefits you can actually take out of it. Another example is, the other day I was walking by some plastic flowers that we have in the house, because both my better half and I, we don't have a green thumb, we have a brown thumb. And so we hardly bother with live flowers, because, we'll just end up killing them, and there are better homes for them. And I chuckled because, it was this one thing, and I walk by these plants daily, and I can't be bothered. Well, I can be bothered, but it's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then you put water in it and you don't put fertilizer in, and the soil goes, loses its nutrients, and we just suck at it. And that's something really, another thing you have to realize, what are your weaknesses, and that's really the interesting takeaway of this. And we're going to work on how to, take advantage of them later. Now, these analogies, these stories, these parts of my life are true in your life as well. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has a weakness. There are those who are insanely anal about not having weaknesses, but at the end of the day, some of them you just can't do anything about. Like I said, with my eyes, it's like I could undergo surgery again, but they would still be offset, and it wouldn't help anything. It would just make the surgeon richer, and subject me to risks. And so, that is true for everyone. Everybody's got their weakness, whatever it is at the end of the day, be it your primal urges or, whatever, there's just so many possibilities out there. And, while it's true that some habits that you have can be changed, there are just going to be things in your life that you're going to suck at. And these are, the things that we're going to work on. Well, number one, really the most important part is the self-honesty about your weaknesses. Now, again, write them down on a sheet of paper, and make sense of them. Be honest to yourself and say, okay, what do I suck at? And that's the first step that we're going to take, because that's the acknowledgement that you have weaknesses. And don't worry, we're going to, toss this sheet of paper, so nobody's going to ever know except for yourself. And then, what you really have to be honest about, the next step you have to be honest about is these weaknesses that you just wrote down. how do they influence your life? Like I said, for me as a kid, it was terrible with my cross-eyed thingamajigger because, I couldn't kick a ball straight or anything of that sort. So school sports were terrible for me. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be a very positive asset to have in business negotiations. So how does it influence your life has to be asked both ways. Is it a positive influence or is it a negative influence on your life, right? And that's a very important second step to determine. So when you've written down your weaknesses, write a plus or a minus. Does it influence your life positively or negatively? And then after that, write a few arguments. And then the third and last thing is whether or not you should invest the effort to neutralize these weaknesses. And you have to go through this again, with every weakness that you have. And, being honest about the weaknesses is, can be anything from, like I said, physical things that come in your way, a handicap that you may have, or, something as benign as you're not being able to have, you don't have a green thumb, but a brown thumb, so it's like whatever, whatever you notice, you acknowledge as a weakness, as something you could get better at, right? And then, it's like, how does it influence your life, positively or negatively? And then, should you invest the effort to neutralize this weakness? And by neutralization, I mean, do you want to work on getting better at keeping flowers? Is it worth it? Do you want to invest the time to become better at it? Or do you just refrain from having living flowers in your house and take plastic ones like we do, most of them? With the other thing, like I said, with my eyes, is it worth for me to subject myself to a risk of getting yet another surgery as a grown-up? No. That was the no, the clear no I wrote down for me. And that's where the title kind of makes sense. Even if you have the weakness and you have determined it, and this is a very important part, acknowledging that you have a weakness, because then nobody can really use it against you. And then, there's the chance to actually, do you want to embrace it or do you want to neutralize that imperfection or weakness? When you have written everything down on that sheet of paper, take the time to reflect on it, and then, you might as well put it up on a billboard. No, not billboard. That was the wrong word. On a whiteboard in your house or on the wall if it's something you want to work on. But I think the most important part is really acknowledging for yourself and figuring out that you have weaknesses, because, like I said, that's the first step in taking away an Achilles heel in your life. So in that sense, again, if you think this might be valuable for someone, please feel free to, please share it with that person. If, you like what you heard, please subscribe. If you have feedback, criticism, or comments or whatever, further questions, please email theverybestpodcastintheworld@gmail.com, and follow us on social media, and that bit. Everything else you need to know is on the website, theverybestpodcastintheworld.com. And other than that, I wish you a very nice, relaxing, chilling, studying your imperfections weekend. And we'll be back on Monday when we will be analyzing are we going to analyzing it? Well, we're going to break the cycle of procrastination. Let's go down that route because it's more forceful. In that sense, have a nice weekend. I'll see you guys on Monday. Ciao. Peace out.